this video, I turn the Adrian Bra into a matching set by sewing up some Friday French cuts. The Friday French cuts are a pattern by Emerald Erin. They were a lot of fun to sew, so come and sew along with me. With cutting out, the one important thing to note is placement of the scallops along the front waistband. So this is the front waistband piece. It's going to be mirrored up here, so this is the center front. So the seam allowance here is what you want to line up with the lowest point on your scallop. So just like the bra in the other video, we want to line where our stitch line is with the lowest point in your scallop. So it's not the end here like this, it is your stitch line, and that way once you've done the same to the other piece, they'll meet nicely in the middle at this low point. Pieces for my Friday French cuts are all cut out. So I've got the front pieces here out of the embroidered tulle and also a sheer cup lining layer. The lining layer is optional, but I'm going to use it in this point because it means that the knickers will be the same opacity as the bra, which is also lined with the sheer cup lining, and it gives me the opportunity to make a nice enclosed seam at the front here. I've got the back piece, which is out of the cotton lycra that comes in the kit, and I've got two gusset pieces, so one for the outer and one for the lining, also in the cotton lycra. My first step is to sew the front seam. I've moved my cotton lycra pieces out of the way, so I've just got my front, the two embroidered tulle and the two sheer cup lining. What I'm going to do is put my embroidered tulle right sides together, and we're going to pin this seam along here. We're going to put the sheer cup lining pieces right side together, and then I want to layer them all up like so. So my layer lining will go the embroidered tulle right sides together on top of the sheer cup lining. So once I pin and sew all four layers together with the 6mm seam allowance, I'll be able to open them out and have a nicely enclosed seam. I'm just going to pin the two ends of my embroidered tulle together just to hold that in place while I add my lining. So my two lining pieces together. And just remember that your lining needs to hit this low point of the scallops. It doesn't extend up to the top edge of the scallops here, so it sits slightly lower than your embroidered tulle edge. Here's the sewn seam, 6mm, and now we can open it out to show that it is nicely enclosed. So there is our front opened out, and then the back. opened out. You can see the seam sits nicely on the inside, and then we have our join in the middle here. So my next step is to top stitch this so it lays a bit more smooth and trim away any excess fabric from the inside. The front is sitting a lot flatter now that it's been top stitched, and it's time to attach the gusset and the front and back together. So to take my gusset, the wider point here is the front where it attached to the front piece. So I flip these over right sides together and find out where the center point of the gusset is. I'm just going to turn it around and make it a bit easier on myself. I want to also attach the back of my Friday Frenchcuts on, so I need to take the crotch seam for that one. So this is down here, and attach that to the other side of this gusset. Just popping a couple of pins in to mark it because I am going to add the other gusset piece as well and pin it all together. So I'm just doing this to hold it in place. So I have this piece where the gusset is attached in between both front and back. But now I want to roll these out of the way, so I still need to see where my two end points are, and that one here. And then it's time to attach our other gusset piece. Make sure I have it around the right way. So we need to pop that on with the right side facing down because we want the right side towards the inside of the knickers. Pop some pins in here as well. So what you should have is the right sides of your gusset pieces facing into the center towards each other. And then you know once I turn right side around, they will both be facing outwards. So I'm just going to line up the rest of the gusset seams here, so the edges. Pin in between on both points, and then sew both seams with the 6mm seam allowance on my straight stitch sewing machine. Top and bottom of the gusset have been sewn, and if we've got our little sandwich correct, we should now be able to flip it around the right way, and it will all be attached with seams nicely enclosed, just like so, with the right side of the fabric on the outside, and for the inside, the right side of your gusset facing upwards. Our next step is to sew the side seams. So if I flip this right sides towards the inside, and I need to match up my end points here. So my back piece has to extend further than the front piece because we're going to add on a piece of elastic and turn it under. So don't try and match up these two end points, it needs to extend that much further. So I'm just going to pin those together and sew them. We're up to popping on the waistband elastic, and in the instructions it has you cut a length of your waistband elastic according to your size. You fold it in half to find the center, and then there's another measurement to go out each side for your side seams. So the first pass, we're just sewing to the back part of the panty. We need to have it on the right side of the fabric with the right side of your elastic touching it and your picots facing the inside. Match up the centers. Match up your side seam measurement with your side seam up here. And the same with the other side. Then we're going to use a zigzag stitch to sew this on close to your picot edge. So from your bottom of your picots to about halfway through your elastic. On my machine, that's about a 3 long and a 4 wide zigzag. I'm going to go along there, matching up the straight edge of the elastic with the cut edge of your fabric and stretching to fit as you go. So we're just going to sew from side seam to side seam, and then the rest will be done on the second pass. Waistband elastic has been applied to the back of the panties with a zigzag stitch. It goes up to the picots and halfway through. This is what it looks like from the other side. I'm now going to trim this excess bit of fabric away with the duckbill scissors. The duckbill scissors are my #1 tool for bra making. They are so handy. So I'm going to trim that back. And then we're going to turn it under, so we've got the right side of the brief spacing up here, turn it under, just secure it at these side seams. You could do it with a little clip, which I don't have handy to me at the moment, but I'm just going to pop a pin in there just to keep it down. Once I've clipped it back, I'll do the same here and at the side as well. Now it's time to work on the front part of the elastic. So this is going to run over the edge of the sheer cup lining and come to the point here. We're going to overlap just a fraction at this point. And we're going to attach this in place. Starting here, we're going to do a zigzag along the straight edge of the picot on this half. So once we get around to our side seam, it will then be securing the back part of the elastic down by attaching this free edge. We're going to work our way around till we get to the other side seam. Make sure none of our fabric is tucked out of the way. And then this one is going to come down and overlap the first cut edge slightly. So this is going to be attaching down this straight edge, and then we'll come back to do the picots. I'm back around to the front again. So what I'm going to do is just pin the other cut end slightly overlapping that intersection. So I know how much to tension my elastic. And repeat what I did for the first side. Waistband elastic is applied the whole way around. The final thing is to secure this picot edge at the front here. So I've only got one lot of zigzags at the moment, so I just need to do another row of zigzags up near the picots from side seam to side seam. While I'm at the machine doing that, I'm going to prepare the leg elastic. So you cut to length according to the measurements on the pattern. It then has you overlap your two ends by 1/4 inch, and then sew a couple of straight lines to secure those. So I'm going to do both those things and then come back to apply the leg elastic. We're up to applying the leg elastic. So I have the cut length of leg elastic sewn into a loop and quartered. So I've just put pins in each 1/4 point. And then on the knickers itself, on the pattern, there are little notch points. So it has you pin it into quarters as well, which I've marked with pins. One is the side seam and one at the back here. And then I just need to line these up together. So we need to make sure that our elastic is right sides together with the fabric, and that the picots are pointing towards the inside of the knickers. Then my little seam here where my elastic ends join together, I'm going to match up to the crotch point. Pin that to secure, and just work my way around and match up the other 1/4 points on the fabric and the elastic. Once I've done that, it's time to sew. So I will stretch out the elastic to fit the fabric, not overstretching it. We don't want the fabric to stretch at all, just the elastic. And I'm going to sew it on like we did the waistband, with a narrow zigzag that goes up to the base of the picot and about halfway through the elastic. So I'm going to pin the last of those and stitch that in place for the first pass. First pass of the leg elastic has been applied. So you can see I've got a zigzag through here up to the base of the picot and halfway through, just like before. Now I'm going to trim off this excess fabric here, flip the elastic to the wrong side, and then from the right side I'm going to zigzag stitch down the loose edge. These are officially adorable. I have finished the leg elastic with the second bit of zigzag stitching that secures down this edge of the elastic. All I'm going to do now is sew a bow in the middle, and I can't wait to see these with the matching bra. I hope you enjoyed that sew along. If you're interested in sewing your own bra and knickers, you can find lots of resources at nelliejones.co.nz, including kits like this with everything you need to make your own matching set.